Hey, what's up, guys? Working on a couple of guns and just got an email from somebody. I hope they didn't buy a whole bunch of Daisy BBs because of that old video when Daisy BBs used to be the thing to buy. But working on this gun, found this Daisy BB. And these are the newer ones. Gammo bought Daisy a couple of years ago, and ever since, they've just put out trash as far as BBs. So don't run your Superbirds off of Daisy. These are what we're using now. These are the hot ticket. And if you check the date on this video and it's a few years old, just do a physical inspection of BBs when you're buying them, or ask me below in the comments, hey, what are you shooting now? And for those of you who insist on using the dual hook valve body barrel nut combo, here's something that I've come across when installing it. If your whole gun is together and you're just taking the barrel off and putting it on, don't tighten the barrel into the nut all the way. Just leave it kind of loose, and then get your magazine in there first, and you can make sure everything's right in here with your seal. It's not pushing your Magnus op seal or whatever seal you're running out too far. If it is, you need to make an adjustment right in there where your shims are, and put your magazine in and work it in there, and then tighten your barrel up. What can happen is you get everything back together, you'll have your barrel in there nice and tight, and your magazine won't go in. So it needs to have some give when you put it in there, and then you can go ahead and tighten your barrel up, and it will be in a position where it is able to accept the valve body in between both of those hooks. This is a Diagnosing barrel, so it's a little different. On a Russian barrel, it has threads and a collar on it right here, and the collar will only unscrew off towards the gun. It will not screw off all the way, and that's kind of a pain in the butt because you have to put the barrel on with the gun and everything all together like that to get that collar to go on there. So with the Gem C / Jaws Max barrel, you don't have to take the barrel off to take the gun apart. Alright, we're inside my bat cave. I apologize. I've got a dehumidifier running over there, and it's kind of wonky. If I turn it off, the compressor might not come back on, so I'm going to have to leave that on. The missing parts that I think we've been waiting on for about 6 months finally came. And this is for those of you from the first run of Freebirds. They sent 3 of these receivers. This is the part that goes around the solenoid that was beefed up because we had an issue with a weak spot, and one of the customers actually had one that broke, but we did address this. So if you've got a Freebird from the first run of them and you're having an issue, or if you just want this new part, just let me know and I'll ship it right out to you, no extra charge. Let's see. Yes, this is the least favorite part of what I do, and it's actually shooting the gun. I figured that since the customer of this gun and another one wanted a quick video today, I would bring you back here to the test range and tell you what's going on with the gun as I tune it. Now, the problems that I run into back here are with the air system. There might be an air leak in my system, and so then I'll have to stop. I'll have to fix that and come back. And there might be an air leak in the gun. I'll have to stop, fix that, depending on how bad it is. If I can live with it to get the gun tuned, I'll fix it after I tune the gun. So, here we go. Now this one is the 6K gun that I shot up the TV with. He wanted me to do it up for him in 8K. That's what this battery port is for an external battery. I've gone ahead and put an 8K board in this and put 35 volt capacitors on it. So who knows what's going to happen. And we've got a leak. Let me shoot it one time. This leak, I could tell, it's coming from the valve body. And that's pretty typical. I put a high flow valve in here and a new valve stem. It sounds like there's not even a valve seal in here. This is what they sound like in that case. So we'll take it apart and see what's going on with it. Got a wide flathead screwdriver. I just cut a notch in for these valves. And I'll be the first to admit that I am not infallible. So there could or could not be a valve seal in here, but that's why I test them before I send them out. So you can actually enjoy shooting them. I got a valve seal in there. Sometimes the valve seals just don't work, even when they're brand new like this. So we're going to get a new one and put it in. And the reason I shot it was to try to seal it. This is a new valve seat, new valve seal. So sometimes when you get them all back together, just shooting them will seal it up, and I don't see anything wrong with this seal. Make sure there's no trash in it. Oh yeah, brand new valve body too. You're just looking for tears anywhere. These are what I use. You should go ahead and get some, so you don't have to send your entire gun to me when you need a new valve seal. I think, well, I'm not even going to speculate on that. And when I put them in there, doesn't really matter which way the washer goes in. This one's actually a brass washer that I came up with. I'm going to put the smooth side on the seal. And once I get them down in there, what I'll do is put a dab of this on there. You know, you could get the Pale Gun oil. It's really expensive. Or just buy this. But if you don't know, you don't want to have a combustible lubricant in your air system because it could combust. It's not likely inside here, but you don't want that to happen. And that's why it says use no oil on paintball bottles. You really don't want to get any in there. And to put the valve back in there, that can be a pain in the butt. What you can do is line it up, see it, and then work it on through that washer and then press it in. So if you're having a lot of trouble with that, that's why. And I still have problems with that sometimes. All right, back to the test it out. So I don't know if you can hear, it's a lot better, but it's not perfect. So shooting this might make it seal. And now it sounds like there's another BB jammed in the barrel. So either the clutch is way too tight and it's not allowing BBs out, or there's a jam in the breech or in the barrel. Or in the magazine. The best way to make sure that your barrel is clear is make sure the gun is off and it's clear. So we have a jam in the magazine now. The little bit it did shoot for, it helped with the valve. It's still leaking a little bit. I think what I'm going to try to do is shoot it at a higher rate than 4,000 rounds a minute so the motor won't have to work as hard. And maybe we can get some juice going to the solenoid. Yeah, that clutch is really tight. Yep, gonna have to go back in. With these augers, they're handmade. Sometimes they don't fit just right and they'll get hung up when they spin around. So that's just a matter of taking it out, filing it down in the right spot. For me, no, you shouldn't have to worry about this because I will have gone through this entire process by the time your gun comes back. Other times, right after I build one, the clutch will be too loose to move the BBs in there. And I don't know if we have that going on here. I don't see any obstruction right off the bat. That's what we're looking at. So, take it out. Get all the BBs off of it. Just got back from the dentist today, and apparently chewing tobacco or dip is very good for your teeth. I'm not even kidding. All right, I'm just going to spin this. Now this is something I can't really teach you, but what I'm doing is just holding on to the back here and turning the clutch with my hand. See, I know about how much clutch tension I need. And this one is too tight, but no, maybe not. We need to figure out why it wasn't turning around though. Yeah, she was like, do you use tobacco? Chewing tobacco? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, it's funny. You know, sometimes the acidity of that will prevent you from getting a lot of plaque buildup on your teeth. Like, so that's a good thing, right? She's like, yeah. Well, besides receding gums and cancer. Oh, sweet. As long as it made my dentist appointment cost me less this time, I'm happy. And I don't see anything wrong with this. Now, it is possible that this geometry on here is not conducive to putting BBs past it. And in that case, I will have to trash this auger and make a new one. But we're going to figure out whether or not that's the case here. What we'll do is we'll just put it back together. And it's no fun when this happens and it's not obvious what the problem is right out of the gate, because you know, if it starts working and what am I supposed to do? You know, shoot it 50,000 rounds to see if it malfunctions? So that's why I try to educate everybody on these, because the difference in that and a Drost is like the difference between, let's say, a Chevette and a Formula One race car. So if you own a Formula One race car, you definitely need to know a little bit more about, well, you might need to know just about as much as far as maintenance is concerned. So that's not really a good comparison. Come on. Put some hair around that thing. Yeah, if you don't get that in that hole, you're going to have a space there, but we're just seeing if it'll feed right now. So I've got the bottom plate out of it. Somebody was asking me what that's for. I think they only put it here for me. So I'm going to hold my hand under it and try to feed BBs through it when I turn on the gun. And it is not feeding at all. So I'm going to have to make a new auger for this. So today is tomorrow, and it turns out it was not the auger. This gun came to me pre-pandemic, and we were waiting on parts for it this whole time, and they came in a few days ago. So I did some of the work to it months ago, and one of the things that I had to do was the magazine wire was broken. So I put another pigtail on it, and when I did, I wired it wrong, so the motor was actually spinning backwards. We've still got a nasty leak in here that may have something to do with the dual hook valve body barrel nut combo. I don't know, they're usually not this much of a pain in the butt as far as leaks go, but let's go ahead and shoot the gun and see where we are on tuning. I usually start out at 4,000 rounds a minute. If it works at that, anything under 4,000 is going to work just fine. When it does that, what's going on is the clutch is too tight. And when the clutch is too tight, the motor will just suck juice directly from the batteries. And there won't be enough juice to go to the solenoid to actuate it. So, as I said before, maybe the clutch is too tight on this when I felt it with my hands. So I'm going to have to go back in and loosen the clutch and try this out again. Alright, we're in the shop and I've got the drive assembly out. First thing I always do is take it out, and then I'll put my vice grip on there like so to keep that part from spinning. And then I'll just grab the clutch gear and see what kind of force it takes to spin it. And from what I just experienced in the back room, I feel this and I know that this is too much tension on this clutch. Now, I haven't been doing the clutch springs like this for very long, so there's not very many with this type of setup with the lock nut on there. You're probably going to have, if you've got one made before this video, it's most likely going to have a spring and the factory nut on there. And for those, the way I generally will do those is I'll tighten or loosen accordingly 1/4 of a turn and then try it out. This type is more sensitive, so I'll just try it maybe that much and then feel the clutch. Doesn't feel like a whole lot of difference. I think I'm going to go a little bit looser. And I get a good feel for how tight it is. And that's the only way that you could do it. Unless you do the syringe method, which there is a hole underneath one of these lobes that strike your agitator plate for a syringe, and you can put your trigger gauge on it like for a regular firearm to weigh your trigger, and you just want to measure how much force it takes for the clutch to break. And you're looking for around 8 ounces, I believe it is. So we'll give this a try. If you get it too loose, let's just go ahead and make it too loose. I don't want to get it incredibly loose, but this is probably too loose for 4K. And I'll show you what happens. What we're going to be looking for is air shots at 4K. It's probably going to work fine all the way up to maybe 3,000 rounds a minute. But beyond that, what happens is you've got all the air coming up through here. So when you're doing high fire rates, you've got air also pushing down on the BBs trying to get the battery to fire. And with longer barrels, this is even more of a problem at high fire rates because you generate more pressure in the barrel, so you've got more pushing down on these BBs. You always want to make sure that you're not pinching your wire when you put these back together too. Some of them, this nut for this bolt up top will fall out. A lot of them, they just stay in there. But that's a traditional nut. The other holes have compression nuts, and they're round, they're donut shaped, and they're ribbed on the outside to bite into the polymers. They're tightened up. From the factory, they're always really loose. So the first thing I do whenever I get a new mag is I tighten down these 3 screws to where I feel that nut coming in there and fully engaging where it's supposed to be. So that was 1,000 rounds a minute with a pulse of 4. It got about 1,200 PSI behind it. It wasn't getting the BBs out of there. So we're going to increase the pulse. Go with 7. Just do some single fires to see what's going on. Barrel's clear. It looks like they're sitting too high in there. Now they're supposed to sit up in there a little bit, but to me it looks like they're a little high. Now it was just shooting, so this is kind of the madness that I deal with on a daily basis. And it's not firing. So I don't know what's going on with it at this point. Okay, I've got the magazine and another gun. Just dry fires. Run into this one other time. And I think I mentioned that a few videos ago. This is my magazine. See how much higher or lower in this position BB is? It's so far in that cup that the air won't push it out. Now I've been waiting on these valve bodies, these dual hook valve body barrel nut combos since before March. So I was a customer, and now they're here and they're trash. Alright, I had to go home before something got broken. Went ahead and changed my shirt while I was there because I got this full of my other shirt full of metal filings from doing something with Freebird. But what I did was I just swapped out the valve body with an older style valve body. I've already pressurized it, no leaks, with the same seals that were, same seal, valve seat and valve that were in the other valve body. So let's see what happens. Shot a few times, but it's not wanting to do it anymore. Just going down in the pulse. That's what happens when you forget to put the tube back in it. So here's the tube that I forgot to put back in it when I put the new valve body on it. And this isn't a stock part. This is for high pressure air and the stronger magazine motors. And people often ask me, they say, well, what's the difference between Superbird and Freebird? Well, so far, we haven't run across a problem that it is possible for Superbird to have. Doesn't have this, well, we do have a steel tube, but you know, this is just a modification of the Blackbird. We don't have a valve body. The best way I can explain the difference between Superbird and Freebird is that Freebird was designed to do what it does. Superbird is forced to. So I'm not sure how many times I've taken this thing apart on camera yet in this video, but you can do anything that has to do with the motor, auger, the whole drive assembly without having to completely take the magazine apart. You can actually shoot it while you're working on it. So unless you intend to do that, you need to have your air disconnected from Freebird when you're tinkering on it. All right. So this is why I don't sell parts kits. If you don't know what you're doing or have a clue what you're doing, good luck. Alright, that's what it shoots like when your clutch is a little bit loose. That was about 75%. Another thing that you're not going to think, probably aren't going to think about if you have grandiose ideas of building your own, is the amount of air it can take to tune one of these, especially if you don't know what you're doing. I go through a ton of it. That little bit of shooting right there, comparatively, that probably would have shot half of a 68 4500. And I remember the first time that I ran across that problem with the valve body. It took a long time to figure out what it was. lot of things like that. That can happen in the process of getting one tuned up. If this was a free bird, we'd still be in the back room. We would loosen 2 bolts, pull the motor housing cover off, and we would be doing this on the gun. And I'd do that, then I would shoot it, and then I'd turn it one way or the other. But we don't have that option with the Superbird. That feels about right. That's how you tune one. I just thought I'd wrap this video up by talking a little bit about that dual hook / barrel nut valve body a little bit. Both of the ones that I put on his guns leaked. They leaked with brand new seals and everything. Everything was new that I put in them, and I made sure that they were really clean before I put any of that stuff in there. I probably could have, gone in there with some grinding tools or whatever and cleaned everything up and made them to where they wouldn't leak air. But, I just went with, I explained to the customer several different options we could go with. And he decided to go with the older style valve body from a 30-round magazine. I had a few of those laying around, so that's my favorite way of doing it. What else? The Magnus-Op seals weren't seating like I would have liked in there. They were too far protruded, and there was nothing I could do about it. The barrel would not even come up and press on the seal. And the pocket was messed up in both of them. I suspect that those were factory rejects that somebody, whoever makes them, got their hands on and just did them up like that. In the past, I've had no problems with them. I've actually got at least one on one of my guns and it works fine. But these, I waited on these since I think February, and they finally got here, and I'd had the customer's guns that long just for that mod. And so that was completely disappointing to me. I'm not going to be offering that mod anymore. If you guys want to try it, have at it. But I'm just going to go with using your valve body and the tape on the inside of it, because I know that works. I know that works well. Anyway, I hope you learned something about the process that I go through to get one of these tuned up and out the door. If the more you know about these things, the easier it is for you to work on them yourself. And rather than you know, when something very simple happens, having to send your entire gun back to me for something like a valve seal is ridiculous. So I try to teach you guys as much as I know about these things. And yeah, I mean, I developed all of this, you know, made 2K work all the way up to 8K. So I do know what I'm doing, and it's hard to convey some of these things to you guys, like, ooh, that feels about tight enough. I mean, I can't convey that any other way, other than, you know, I've tried with the measurements, using trigger gauge. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and every gun is just a little bit different. So that's about it for this video. I'm sure it's going to be plenty long, and hopefully I can start doing some more videos about Freebird. Until then, later.